Welcome to Yeshiva Daf Shir sponsor Nishma Saim Yakashol Mapasitzchok. We're holding in Basra Daf Kuf Membes. We're going to start from the top of Amud Aleph. The Gemara, in the middle of the sugya here, we're learning that you cannot be mezak el uber. You cannot give a gift. You can't give a yerusha matana to an uber, to a fetus. So the Gemara asked in our Mishnah, we see that a person said that if his wife is going to give birth to a boy, he'll give him a certain amount of money. She'll give birth to a girl. He's giving her a certain amount of money. So the Gemara l'chor over here, that means that is mezak el uber. He's giving to the uber. Says the Gemara, Daf Kuf Membes and Aleph. On this question, why did we answer? He said, the father said, I'm not giving it to the baby right now. I give it to the baby once my wife gives birth. Says the Gemara, this whole discussion is Ravuno. L'kshetel does not work either. As the Rashbam explains over here, the Keiman de Bishasa Kno Uber, when I want to give it, when the father's giving it, it's a fetus. You can't be Zoiche, if a person, if an entity is not able to acquire now, you can't even say, okay, you will acquire in the future. And the more brings machlekes. You cannot give to Uber. If he said, when my wife gives birth, or when this woman gives birth, I'm giving the gift, then it does work. It doesn't work. If you can't be creating now, I can't be creating in future tense. It's a top of Dova Shalom Beloylo. We have Sheish Omar, Echad Ze ve'Echad Ze Kona. Sheish holds that they both Kona. Now, what's the number that said Lekeshetel Kona? Because the Uber is in the world. So there's really three levels. Ravuna holds that a fetus is not here. You can be market, you can be market. It's Dova Shalom Beloylo. Rav Sheshes holds he's not here right now, but he's already starting to be here. So now that's Rav Nachman. So you could give it to him lekeshetel. You could give it to him as he comes out. And Rav Sheshes holds he's mamish boiling right now, and you can't give it to the so you can be market to Uber itself. How do I know that? Tanya, ger shemes ubizbezu Yisrael nechasav. You have a ger, he has no relatives. He died, and Yisrael came in. And bizbezu nechasav, it's an interesting lashon, but it means really they took over his asset because he has nobody else to inherit him. Then to hear, 1 second, it seems like he did have a son to ger. We thought he had no relatives. He does have a son, or his wife is pregnant. We didn't know that. So they have to give it back. Why? Because they took it only in the assumption that there's no ownership. Because once the ger dies with no relatives, there's nobody else to acquire it. But if there is an ownership, if there is a relative, you have to give it to him. They give it back. After that son that we heard is alive, he died. Or that Uber, that fetus that we thought is coming out, there was a miscarriage. There's no more baby. So the second chazako, so if this person, Yaakov, went and he took from the ger, and then he found out that the wife was pregnant. Then he found out that the wife had a miscarriage. If you reacquired it a second time, he's kohen. If he didn't reacquire it, he's not kohen. So the Gemara Visa Kadai Techuber Lekoni Lama Lo Zuki B'Shtio Hachazig Lechazimno. When the second case that this Baris is bringing, this woman is pregnant. So the Uber, is he owner of these fields? If you hold that an Uber is not an owner, so there's no owner to this field. The only reason he's giving it back, the Yaakov who held on to it, is because this Uber is about to be born, and when he's going to be born, he'll be an owner. So that's why you give it back. But if there was a miscarriage, you found out on Afreya retroactively there was no owner, so the original chazaka should be good enough. Elamah says of Sheish is what you see from here, that an owner has Uber has a status of an owner. An Uber is an owner. So that's why when the wife of the ger was pregnant, that baby was the owner of the lands. You can't be maxed. Once it was a miscarriage, now it became hefker. But not before. Says the Gemara, says the Abaye, no. There, it was a natural inheritance. The ger dies without doing any action of any gifting or any repositioning of the assets. The Uber is kohen. So as we mentioned in the previous daf, there's a slur of the things that happen automatically. The Uber does get that. He has enough in the world to get that. But to gift him something, to give him as a present, when he's still Uber for something that's not automatically supposed to go to him, that you can't do. So it's not a good raya. Says Rava, the chiluk is different. When they did the first chazakah, they didn't really mean to do the first chazakah. They did it with not full kavanah. Why? Because they knew that the wife was pregnant. So even though the Gemara says shomu boy, they heard it afterwards. So as the Rishban points out, that they probably did have some kind of an assumption that it may be pregnant, right? They don't know, but she may be pregnant. So therefore, when they picked up the nechasim, there was a big chance that this doesn't work. So they didn't really do a full kavanah. And that's why the first chazakah doesn't work. Because what the Ripui Ma'at B'Yadam Meikar. What's the difference between these two answers? Let's say there was the woman, they didn't know, the ger dies. They didn't know if the woman is pregnant or not. They tell them the woman is pregnant. Too bad, can't take the nechasim. Then comes somebody and says, Rabbi say there was a miscarriage. He radically grabs the nechasim. Then 10 minutes later they find out there was no miscarriage. But 20 minutes after that, there was a miscarriage. Meaning they grabbed onto the chasim a little too early. They thought there was a miscarriage, but the miscarriage happened only afterwards. So therefore, they merely what? According to Abaye, you can't be kind of that. Because he still has to do a kinyan. Because you're saying an Uber is an owner, at least Dava Shabbat Me'elav, he's an Uber. He's an owner, sorry. The Uber is an owner, the fetus is an owner of Dava Shabbat Me'elav. So as long as there's no miscarriage, no chazakah works. But according to Rava, the Uber is not an owner. The only reason the chazakah doesn't work is because Ripuyim Ma'at B'Yadam wasn't a strong chazakah. But if they thought that the baby's dead, so they did do a strong chazakah. So that strong chazakah does work. So that's what it is. Interesting enough, the Mefarshim bring it right from here. When you don't do something with full thought, it may not work. So they speak about the fact that we know when a person dies in the late minyan, so you should do Shema early. Why does he do Shema early? Because not the Mizmak Rishwa. But let's say he's not sure if the minyan will make Mizmak Rishwa or not. So it's brought down in the Shulchan Aruch. So you should, the Torah mentions it, that you should say Kriyishma and misofik. Maybe they'll miss, maybe they'll not miss. So first you're saying, that's Ripui Ma'at B'Yadam, it's not doing with full heart. What we learn in this sugya. Tashma sagt the word Tinoik bin Yom Echad Noichel Umanchel. It says a baby who is 1 day old, so he can inherit and bequeath. Masha from here, bin Yom Echad in Ubar Loi. Davki is 1 day old, but not a fetus. Amav Shesh is Noichel bin Nichsehem Le'anchil Le'achim Ino. This is what they were not talking about. What is Noichel Umanchel? What is Noichel Umanchel? Of course, he's a son. He's going to give it. If he's not here, and let's say he has somebody else in the family, that somebody else will get it anyway. So what does it mean, Noichel Umanchil? It says, Noichel b'nichsehem la'anchil la'achim na. Meaning, when the mother dies, her properties, her assets go to her son. If the son is alive, and then the son dies, so then after him, it will go to his brothers. Brothers that are not maternal brothers, not brothers from the same mother. But if he's only an Uber, so then he's not going to pass it on to his brothers. Because that's called Yerusha Kever. The Davka bin Yomechel goes 1 day old. Uber loy. And Uber is not going to be able to inherit the mother and give it to the brothers if he's not alive, he's not born. My timing, what's the reason? So one of the base, the who my inspiration. The reason he can't do it because he dies first. Meaning, to clarify this, if the mother dies first, the son inherits her, and then gives it to his brothers. But if the mother dies second, meaning she dies first, let's say she gave birth, son was alive, then the son dies. So the mother never bequeathed for him Yerusha. Now the mother dies, doesn't go to him, it goes to somebody else in her family. So here, he's already, when a pregnant mother dies, we assume that the son we assume the son died first. Whenever a pregnant mother dies, the baby, the fetus dies first. So he's never Zerish. The whom is Zerish. Ben Yerish is Imur, but Kever Lachim Lachim. No, that's what we mentioned. Kever. Once he's dead, he can't inherit. Then she keeps it. Say more than me, do my inspiration. You want to tell me for sure he dies first? There was a story. And he did 3 perkusim. One is 3 perkusim. So the way the Rishbam learns is that he did that 3. It's Rishbam. The Pashtas is many of the Rishonim. Perkus means that he had 3 breaths. It's like a type of a jerking coming out after he was born. So he moved a little bit. So you see, he was still alive after the mother died. Says the Gemara, and the Tosfos learns perkusi 3 perkusi means that mahalach shlosh parsos. He lived a substantial amount of time. When you cut a letah, right? So when you cut a letah, that goes on the ground, you cut it, the tail continues to move. A lizard, right? You cut a lizard, the tail continues to move. The tail has no chiyus. So why is it still moving? It's still jerking, still has something left in it. It's like energy that stays in there. So, bimele, that's what happens to the babies when the baby was born. But really, when the mother dies, so the baby dies before. The Tosfos brings over here interesting that the only time that we say that the son dies first is only if she died a natural death. But if someone killed her, so then you don't say that. And why is that so? Because says Tosfos, when she dies a natural death, the Malach HaMovis comes. When Malach HaMovis comes, he has that poison that kills the baby first. If she does not a natural death, someone kills her, it's not Malach HaMovis, and therefore she doesn't die first. So here's an interesting marker. We'll speak about Shor Machshava. When a person is killed, is it Malach HaMovis or not? This is a raya, that's not Malach HaMovis. Says the Gemara, Mar Beit Rav Yosef Shvei Rav Omar, what it means that he has to be 1 day old in order to reduce the chelik of b'choyer. V'davka ben yom echad, dafka is 1 day old. But uber is not meimad b'chelik b'choyer. My time v'yoldu lo mechmona doma amar breda v'yisur derova ben sheminoyad lacha misavi, he was born after the mitzvah of his father. Eino meimad b'chelik b'choyer. It doesn't take away from the chelik b'choyer. My time v'yoldu lo mechmona Ve'alek needs to be born. So regarding the chelik b'choyer, you need to have a baby who's born. So as Rashbam goes on and length to explain it, we saw it early in the Masechta. The chelik b'choyer, you always treat it in comparison to the b'chor gets double. He has 2 pieces. One is b'choyer, one is pashut. The b'choyer part is only calculated based on the living brothers. The pashut part is calculated based even on the ones who are not yet born. So the Rashbam brings an example. Let's say there's a brother, there's 2 brothers, and there's 12 dinarim. The property is worth 12. So if there's only one brother, the live brother, they're going to divide this into 3. Each one gets 4 pieces. The second brother gets 4. The b'chor gets 8. 4 as a b'chor, and 4 is like another kid, and 4 is double like his brother. If you have now another kid who was a fetus, was a uber, so now the chelik b'choyer doesn't change. He still takes 4. But whatever is left, which is 8, that will be split into 3. And it won't be 4 and 4. It's going to be 2 and 1/2 and 2 and 1/2, or 2 and 1/3 and 2 and 1/3, because each one, 2 and 2/3, 2 and 2/3 each one, because then you do take the uber into consideration. Basra Madluach. Basra, they said the way we just said it. The Bodisa Madluach. They learned the following. Omar Marbi Dav Yisrael read the Rovo. B'chor shenur lachem misas aviv. When the b'chor is born after the father died, ein rot pishtaim. We're referring here to the b'chor, not to the one his brother. The b'chor doesn't take double if he was a fetus. My time yakir machmona v'aleisa diyakir. Needs to be that the father is able to recognize him. He has to be alive. All these things they said in the name of Rava, legabi the b'chor, and legabi the fact that the mute the b'chor we paskin like this halacha. Said the Gemara, Omar Rav Yitzchok, Omar Yitzchok Rav Yochanan, Mizak lehuba loikana. Someone who gave a zikul lehuba, as we said, loikana. In Torah Mishnah Seinu. What about our Mishnah? That's the big question. By a son, it's different. The father is willing to give it to him more than somebody else. So here is, what does that mean? Right, the Rishbam says the gomer will makna b'chol liboy. Uber achil loy kodem. So according to this mashma, you could give to Uber. Just a person doesn't have mirrors das to Uber. He's not here, so he doesn't really mean it. As long as he really means it, it works. The pshat, or the other way to understand it, is the pshat is it's not a kinyan, but we know that the father is giving up something right now that will be waiting for the baby when he's born. So different ways to understand it, that it's tzarich more iyun. Bring 10 people. In front of them, Mapa in front of them. I want he held you could give to Uber. So Mizak Uber Loikon you can't give to Uber. So there was a person who told his wife, so he says, I have a lot of properties, and I do have other children, but my properties will go to your children. Also break shisha. Came a kid, an older kid, meaning a kid from a previous marriage. What about me? You're not giving me anything? He says, yeah, you'll be koine like any other kid. In other words, you'll also take like the other kids. The Rishbam says, like one of these kids. Says these kids are not koine anything. They're not even a uber, not even a fetus. They were never conceived yet. So he can't give it to them. That's clear. Hi is chulik letalyo b'kom banyo or leis the chulik letalyo b'kom banyo. What about him? He told them, I'm giving it to you with the kids, but he didn't really give it to the kids. So does this kid call talyo? He calls it, as Rashbam explains here, the talyo is like is a big baby. Does the baby get for him or not? Meaning, as the Rashbam says, the other kids didn't get anything. They're not here. So naturally you will take. But now you gifted him. So maybe you will take another piece because of this gift. That's a shot. Because the other kids are not getting it. He's not getting it. This bigger baby will get a piece. He won't get a piece. Is the halacha like us or like you? Meaning, right? So the Rav Yirmiyah is the one who says they do have a chilek. Rav Vo says it doesn't. Who's the halacha? So he says, interesting. Of course, the halacha is like us. Why? Because we're older than you, so we go like us. You're young, so we don't pass like you. It depends on being old or young. It has to do with a svar. The time of mine, what's the reason that I say he's not going? Go to Rav, he explained to us. He explained to us what it is. The what? We explained it to I explained it to him. I gave him the explanation, sorry. With daf kuf and gil on daf on top. And he agreed with me. He nodded his head to say he agrees. He went from me, asked what's the shot? So you know why it doesn't work? Right? Why it doesn't work? It doesn't work because it's like someone saying, I'm giving it to you like the donkey. I'm giving you a gift like the donkey. Right? That doesn't work. Why not? Look at the Rashbam on top. The donkey's not going. He says, you'll get like the kids. The kids are not getting. You're not getting either. You're not getting an extra gift. We have either that says you're not going like a chamor, and we're going to go and discuss. The next thing is at the chamor. What about you and the donkey are going? But when he in this case he's saying, he says, go be koine like one of the kids. Like one of the kids, that is something which you're comparing to the kids. The kid's not koine, he's not koine either. And that's why it's considered to be at kechamor, kani kechamor, and therefore he's not koine, and that's the svar of Vo, and that's the svar there of Avin agreed with him, and to come and explain why it doesn't work. Sarah Gomer, stop over here, continue from here, Be'ez Hashem, in the next daf.